If you look at a BC cranberry field in June or July, it may look very quiet and still. But look closer, and you'll see that these fields are buzzing with activity. Beehives have been brought in, and honeybees are hard at work pollinating the cranberry blossoms.
We have a 20-acre farm here, so typically we bring in about 2 hives per acre. So behind me and beside me are 40 hives with approximately 30 to 40,000 bees per hive.
That's about 1.5 million honeybees doing the essential job of pollinating these fields. It's something that future cranberry farmers learn early on.
And what's that bee doing over there?
Pollinating.
And he's turning that flower into a...
Cranberry.
You see any cranberries?
Creekside Cranberries in Langley is one of 80 family farms in the province that produce more than $55 million worth of BC cranberries every year.
So behind me here is what's commonly referred to as a cranberry bog. It's filled with the low-growing cranberry vine, the irrigation system, the sprinklers, and it's surrounded by a dike, which we use when we flood the fields for the harvest later on in the season.
So if this is a cranberry bog, where's the water?
There is a common misconception that the cranberry plant is grown in water. It's like any other plant, it just needs water for irrigation, and the harvest is when we use the water.
Cranberries grow very low to the ground, so you'll need a bee's eye view to see the spring growth and the first appearance of the blossoms and berries.
They were propagated in a greenhouse and then individually planted in the ground 12 inches apart. It's difficult to see, but each plant would have been filled up an area roughly this large when it was planted, and then over the course of its growing would have pushed out runners like this to fill in the gaps in between, and these runners will root down and grow up new uprights. These uprights will set a bud in the end, and that bud will become what you're seeing here. This is one of the uprights that would have set a bud last year for this year's fruit, and the stage that you're seeing it at right now has blossoms that have already been pollinated, and some of the petals have already fallen off, and you see the berries starting to form. This particular upright has 4-5 berries starting to form with 3 more blossoms yet on top. So potentially, should all of these become pollinated and set fruit, you're looking at 8 berries per upright. And over this entire field, there are literally millions of blossoms and uprights.
And after the intense period of growth in the spring and all the work in the fields by the farmers, it's then up to the honeybees to do their job and pollinate the flowers.
The success of the crop is so dependent on bees simply because every single berry that is produced has been a flower that a bee has touched and pollinated. And when you figure out how many berries are produced per acre, it's a phenomenal amount of bee activity that makes a farm like this successful.
This project is supported by the BC government's Buy Local program, delivered by the Investment Agriculture Foundation of BC, with funding from the BC Ministry of Agriculture.